Hello everyone, my name is Pranisha and I'm an intern at SmartPredict. So today we are here to discuss about one of the most asked questions, how to grow from theory to practice as a data scientist. In other words, how we can use artificial intelligence tools to solve real life problems without being an expert in the domain. As we all know that nowadays artificial intelligence or precisely machine learning can be considered as a fundamental tool for each person involved with data science as it helps to improve the process and to generate accurate predictions and in general to improve our capacities to explore the data. However, discussing about the machine learning in terms of theory is very different compared to using its models in real life. In October 2020, Gartner stated the fact that only 53% of AI projects go from the prototype phase to the production phase. Then in February 2021, they announced that 85% of machine learning projects fail, and they are predicting that this tendency is going to continue till 2022. At SmartPredict, we have identified many problems related to this tendency. The first problem we were able to identify was that machine learning is not yet democratized enough. Certainly, there exist many tools to overcome this problem, but there is still a small amount of persons who know how to, people who have PhDs and etc. However, we have to overcome this and apply certain AI knowledge. So, for that, we have to contact people who are experts in this domain. For example, we want to predict the sales for a big distribution. We cannot just base our analysis on the history of the past sales as it is not enough. To improve the analysis, some notions has to be involved such as the production categorization, identification of anomalies as well as the dependencies between different projects. One of the simplest example we can take is the dependency between the bread and the butter. We also have to look at other factors as the storage capacity, external parameters such as the weather, and all these elements are taken care by the staff members of the supply chain as they are the most suitable persons to deal with this. Therefore, we can say that the projects we are dealing with are no more projects of data science, but rather operational projects where everyone can participate and give their contribution. The second problem we were able to notice is that artificial intelligence is difficult and expensive to integrate into companies. Basically, it is about collecting data from different resources. Then comes the training models, which is followed by the production activities. All of these activities need experts, and small companies can barely afford those experts, and therefore, it is impossible for them to realize AI projects. The third problem we were able to note down is the fact that AI system designers are incapable of asking the right questions. We can illustrate this with a very known example, the one of the fraud detection. Now, for example, the initial question could be, is this particular transaction fraudulent or not? And to answer this question, we have to see some situations of fraudulent transaction as well as non-fraudulent transactions. And as we know that we train our AI model based on some particular fraudulent transaction situations, and thus the system will only be able to detect those fraudulent scenarios only. So if there is a new way found out to fraud someone, then it won't be detected by the system. To avoid this type of situations, what can be done is that the question to be asked can be, is this particular transaction normal or abnormal? And in this case, the system will check whether the transaction looks like the normal transactions or not.
SmartPredict was designed to solve these problems. It enables business users to build and put into production their artificial intelligence projects easily. It is a SaaS solution for machine learning and data science that allows companies to free themselves from installation and configuration license costs. So, SmartPredict incorporates innovative features that perform all steps of data science until generating an ML workflow as a customizable pipeline. It includes data cleaning and transformation, ML model training, and deployment as a web service. In a nutshell, our mission is to take AI easier for businesses and everyone through automation. We propose you to follow a demonstration on the platform to show you the functionalities that SmartPredict offers and to explain to you how it solves the problems mentioned above. For this demonstration, we will see how SmartPredict will solve a very specific problem, the credit card fraud detection. So after registering on SmartPredict, you have the screen where you will see artificial intelligence use cases that are already implemented by our data scientist team. So a business person can create their AI system without the help of an expert. For this demo, let's choose credit card fraud detection. This AI project will detect fraud on credit card payment transactions. Here you can see a description of the credit card fraud detection project. And there we have the first step to realize the project, that is the insertion or the collection of the data. The steps description informs us about the type and the content of the data required to create the system. We have the choice between using the data available on the platform or creating our own data. So let's create our own data by clicking on Create Dataset. On SmartPredict, we have more than 35 data connectors to retrieve data from different sources, either from the cloud or databases. In our case, our dataset is in flat files. We click on Create a Source to create the data source, and let's choose a local file. Next, we name the dataset as Historical User Transactions Dataset. This is an already made data which is a list of transactions with columns like the date of transaction, amount, the IP address, and the information about the credit card user. Then we create the data by clicking on Create the Dataset and wait for the data to load from the source. That's it. We have finished the first step, which is the data insertion. Now we move on to the second step, which is the configuration stage. This stage consists in selecting the columns that will be useful to train the artificial intelligence so that it can correctly identify the transactions as fraudulent or not. Here we select the target column, which indicates whether each transaction is fraudulent or not. At the bottom, we have the user ID of the card, the price of the transaction. We can also add another column to optimize the model, such as the IP address, which indicates the location where the transaction is taking place. It is very useful for identifying fraud. We click on Save to save the configuration. And finally, we arrive to the third step, which is launching the whole system creation, so that the SmartPredict will take care of the rest. That is to say, it will automatically perform the data cleaning and transformation, the search for the best artificial intelligence model to detect fraud, the training to these models, and then the deployment of the AI model as a web service. So click on Go to Build Space to get the workspace where SmartPredict performs all these operations one by one. Once the operations are done, we can go to the result, which shows us that we have created an AI to detect fraud, and which gives us the access URL to send the new transactions to be detected by the AI if they are fraudulent or not. Well, we can also test the AI live on SmartPredict by clicking on Start using the AI. So here we are in this predict space, which consists of entering fictitious data that we send to our artificial intelligence system, so that the AI will classify the input data according to the type of use cases. In our case, the input will be a feature of the transaction, its ID, the credit card user ID, the amount of the price, the region where the transaction takes place. In output, the AI classifies the transaction as fraudulent or not. So SmartPredict indicates us here the transaction ID, the date of the transaction, The famous column that indicates that the transaction is fraudulent or not. A confidence score. For our case, we have 70% for this particular transaction. And it's worth noting that this example of data sent for testing was generated by SmartPredict as well. Voila! That's how we create an AI system using SmartPredict as a business person without worrying about how the fraud system works in the background. But of course, as an expert, we can go back to the build space and see all the modules that have contributed to the AI model training to detect fraudulent transactions. So this flowchart represents the workflow for training the model. At the top, we have the data set that will be cleaned and transformed by these models. We also have the modules for training the models. Here we have the classification AI model, which after training has an accuracy rate of 89%. And on the other branch, we have the models that constitute the anomaly detection. It compares the current transaction to the transaction base to detect whether it is abnormal or not. We can also see the flow chart for the model deployment, which is the workflow for the classification of the data in production. Once deployed, a web service containing the trained models is available as a REST API. So you can use the AI system in external applications such as risk management application in banks. In summary, running a ready to use AI use cases in SmartPredict comes down to the data insertion, a simple configuration, and the test of the AI generated by SmartPredict, which is quite user friendly and allows everyone to solve specific artificial intelligence use cases in their businesses. This reduces the development of the AI project and makes it easier for business people who have no notion of machine learning or data science. That's not all, it also provides a configurability for experts. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much for watching this demo video. I hope it helped you. Thank you.